The cry from the mountains. The wind howled through the mountains like a ghost's scream. Snow crunched under Jason's boots as he walked along the narrow trail. He was used to being alone. He liked the silence. On this frozen alien world, humans were rare. He was a delivery runner, carrying supplies between outposts. But that day, something was different. Jason stopped. He thought he heard something, a sound, a cry. He looked around. The white snow stretched for miles. Sharp rocks and cliffs stood tall like ancient bones. Again the sound came, this time clearer. A soft whimper, like a child crying. Jason frowned. What the hell? He followed the sound. It was coming from a small dark cave up the rocky hill. He climbed slowly, careful not to slip. The cave looked cold and empty at first, but then he saw movement. Something was hiding behind a rock. Jason raised his hands. Hey, I'm not going to hurt you. From behind the stone, a small alien child peeked out. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were large and glowing faintly in the dark. She looked weak, scared, and dirty. She wore only rags, and her tiny fingers were shaking. Are you lost? Jason asked gently. The child didn't answer. She just stared at him with wide, watery eyes. Jason slowly reached into his pack and pulled out a protein bar. Here, you hungry? The child looked at the food, then at him. Her body shook, but she stepped closer. Carefully, she grabbed the bar and backed away. She opened it fast and ate like she hadn't tasted food in days. Jason's heart ached. Where are your parents? The child stopped chewing. Her lips trembled. Then, in a soft whisper, she said, Mama, hurt. Jason blinked. Hurt? Where? The child pointed deeper into the cave. Jason hesitated for a moment, then turned on his flashlight. He walked in slowly, careful not to frighten her. Inside, the cave was colder and darker, but after a few steps, Jason froze. There she was. An adult, alien woman lay on the ground, covered in a thin blanket of torn cloth. Her skin was dry and cracked. Her eyes were closed. She held a baby close to her chest. Another smaller child sat beside her, curled up and coughing weakly. Jason knelt down. She's alive. Barely. He checked her pulse. Faint. But there, the baby whimpered weakly. The second child didn't speak at all, only stared at him. Jason looked at the older child. You've been taking care of them? She nodded slowly. Jason pulled out his canteen and helped them drink. Then he unpacked his emergency blanket and wrapped it around the woman and her kids. He gave them food, water, and warmth. Don't understand, he whispered. Why are you out here? Who left you like this? The girl looked down. People ran, left us. Mama said hide, so we hid. Jason felt a chill deeper than the snow. War, maybe a raid, maybe her tribe had been attacked, and these were the ones left behind. You should have been safe in a shelter, he said softly. The woman opened her eyes, just a little. She looked at Jason, confused, afraid. Her lips moved. Don't take them. Jason shook his head. No. I'm helping. She tried to sit up, but she was too weak. She held out her hand, touching Jason's coat with trembling fingers. Please, she said, voice broken. They need someone. Human, kind. Jason was speechless. This wasn't a trap. This wasn't a trick. This was real. She thought humans were cruel, but she begged anyway. For her children. Jason sat back, eyes fixed on the family. What now? If he left them here, they would die. That much was clear. But if he helped them, took them with him, it would be dangerous. The path back was long. He had limited food, and others might not welcome aliens. But he looked at the girl, the way she held her siblings, the way she didn't cry for herself, but for them. He made a decision. I won't leave you, he said firmly. Not any of you. The alien woman's eyes filled with tears. Jason built a fire at the mouth of the cave, just enough to keep them warm but hidden. He stayed up all night watching the flames, listening to the wind, and holding his old rifle close. Somewhere out there, danger might come. But for now, he had something to protect, and he wouldn't walk away. The mother in the shadows, the cave, was silent except for shallow, painful breathing. Jason sat near the fire, arms wrapped around his knees. It wasn't the cold that kept him awake. It was her. Not the children. Not the dark. Her. The alien mother had barely spoken since she woke. Her glowing eyes flickered in the firelight, half closed, watching him. Not with trust, no. With fear. And something more. Desperation. Jason had seen death before, on battlefields, in the ruins of colonies. But this was different. This was someone still fighting to live, but only for her children. He took a breath and stepped deeper into the cave. Hey, he said gently. You awake? The alien woman didn't answer. Her hand tightened around the baby on her chest. The child beside her made a soft whimper. Jason knelt beside them, holding out a steaming cup of water he had boiled from melted snow. Drink, please. Her cracked lips moved. Why? Help? Jason blinked. Because you need it. Her brow furrowed. She didn't understand. Or maybe she couldn't believe it. No one help us, she whispered. Humans don't like us. Jason frowned. I'm not like most people. The small girl who had led him here, her name was Riva. He'd learned, sat close to her mother now. She looked at Jason with wide, questioning eyes. She's safe now? Riva asked. Jason nodded. I'll make sure she stays that way. The alien mother coughed, a dry sound that hurt to hear. She looked up slowly and said, They left us. Jason didn't understand. Who? My kind, she said. When the sky burned. Jason's face went stiff. He remembered that day, the news, a rebel ship crashing into the atmosphere, a war fleet fleeing, a whole alien tribe vanished from their settlement. You were part of that colony? He asked. The mother nodded weakly. I thought everyone died, he said. No, she whispered. Some lived, some ran. We, too slow. I had baby. They said no use. So we hide. Jason sat down stunned. They had abandoned her because she was a mother. And your mate? He asked. She turned her head away. Dead. Silence filled the cave again. Jason slowly reached into his jacket and pulled out a small picture. A photo of his old squad. Smiling faces, a younger Jason in the middle. I lost people too, he said softly. Not family, but close enough. The mother looked at the photo, then at him. You alone now? Yeah, Jason said, voice low. But maybe that's changing. The baby began to cry softly. Jason moved to help, but the mother held up a weak hand. No, I still do this. He watched her struggle to sit up to feed the child. Her body shook from exhaustion, but she still did it. That strength, it hit him hard. She was dying. But not giving up, Jason stood and began building the fire brighter. You need more heat, you'll freeze tonight, he said. The mother looked at him. Her next words were soft, but sharp. If I die, she said, take them. Jason turned around. What? Promise, she said. Riva, little ones, they need someone. Jason stared at her. This wasn't a request. It was a mother's final wish. You're not dying, he said firmly. She shook her head slowly. Body weak. But if heart strong, I choose. I trust. Human. Jason felt a lump rise in his throat. He hadn't been trusted in years. Not like this, you have a name? He asked quietly. She paused. Sorry. Jason nodded. I'm Jason. She gave a tired, almost smile. Strange name. You're one to talk, he joked. And for the first time she laughed. It was a tiny sound, but real. Jason sat down beside her and the children. They all leaned in closer now, like something had changed. The cave felt less cold, less lonely. But outside, the wind still howled. And far in the distance, something else echoed through the valley. A mechanical hum. A pulse, too steady to be wind. Jason's eyes narrowed. Someone, or something, was coming. He looked back at Tasari. We're not safe yet. But I promise. I'll get you all out of here. She looked up at him, her voice no louder than a whisper. Then you are already one of us. Left behind to die. The wind carried a strange sound. Not just the howling cold. Footsteps. Jason froze, his hand on the rifle. Outside the cave, snow was falling heavier now. The sky was gray. But that sound, it didn't belong to the wind. He moved quickly, covering the fire with snow. He whispered to Riva, "Stay with your mother. Don't make a sound." Riva nodded, pulling her siblings closer in the shadows. Jason crept to the mouth of the cave and crouched low. His eyes scanned the white world outside. Nothing, but his heart was racing, and behind him Tasari was whispering something to herself. Jason turned to listen. Her voice was weak, but the words were full of pain. They left us. They left us to die. Jason stepped back toward her. What do you mean? Who left you? Tasari didn't look at him. She was staring at the rocky wall, her eyes full of memories. 2 weeks ago. She had begged them. She had held her baby in one arm, her other hand grabbing at the ship door. Wait, I have children. The soldiers of her kind didn't stop. One looked down at her, eyes cold. You slow us down. We must fly now. Tasari had fallen to her knees, screaming. The engines fired, the ramp closed, and the ship left her in the smoke and snow. Her mate had already been killed by human raiders. In the first wave. She thought someone, anyone, would help her. No one did. She crawled into the cave with her children and waited for either help or death. She thought only death would come, until Jason arrived. Back in the cave, Jason sat beside her now. They were your people? He asked quietly. Tasari nodded. They feared the humans, so they ran. I was just a burden, a female with young. Jason clenched his jaw. You're not a burden. And your children, they deserve more than this. Tasari coughed and shook her head. I was ready to die here, but Riva, she kept crawling to the cave entrance, hoping, watching. She believed. Jason looked at the girl. She sat silently, rocking the baby, gently. Jason spoke slowly. Sorry, I need to move you. This cave isn't safe anymore. Someone or something is close. Sari looked scared. The machines? They come? Jason nodded. Maybe. Could be drones. Could be worse. But I won't let them take you. She grabbed his arm with surprising strength. I cannot walk far. Then I'll carry you, he said simply. She stared at him like he'd spoken in dreams. Why would you do that? You owe me nothing. Jason looked around the cave at the 3 fragile lives huddled here. Because I've already lost people. I won't lose you too. There was silence again. Then Riva spoke. Can we live with you? Jason looked at her. She wasn't begging. She was just hoping. A child's hope. Tasari looked away, ashamed. She dreams too much. I tell her not to. Jason smiled a little. Maybe dreaming is what kept you alive. Then, outside, the sound returned, closer this time. A metallic click. Jason grabbed his rifle and moved to the entrance again. He peered out, still no one. But something was moving through the snow, leaving tracks, invisible but pressing down the white powder. Cloaked, he whispered. Damn. He turned to Dasari. We move. Now. He wrapped her in his thick coat and gently lifted her. Riva helped carry supplies in her tiny arms. Jason slung his rifle on his back and whispered to the kids, "Stick close, don't run, don't cry, just follow." They moved into the trees, slow and careful. Jason carried Dasari through the deep snow. Her breath was weak against his neck. The forest was quiet, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger with every step. Dasari whispered, "If I die, take them." Jason growled under his breath. "You're not dying. Not today." But her fingers gripped his shoulder tighter. "I mean it, Jason. Promise me. Promise. You'll be their father." Jason stopped walking. The wind froze. The children looked up at him. He looked down at the woman in his arms, this strange alien mother who had been left to die and still loved her children more than her own life. "I promise," he said at last. "I'll protect them. I'll raise them, with you or without you." Dasari closed her eyes and smiled. Jason turned toward the valley. "We head for the river. There's an old outpost near it. If we make it by sunset, we might survive the night." Behind them, the snow crunched. Jason didn't look back. He whispered to Riva, "Keep moving. Don't stop." And together, one human and a broken alien family stepped into the storm, chased by shadows, hunters close. In the trees whispered warnings. Jason's boots sank into deep snow as he moved fast through the forest. The alien, children close behind him. Dasari, weak and cold, was held tightly in his arms. Her breath warmed his neck, but it was fading. Behind them, something was moving. No footsteps, no growls, just silence that felt too heavy. Jason didn't need to see them to know they were being followed. He'd felt it before in war when machines hunted from above and you had only seconds to choose between running or dying. But this time, he wasn't alone. He had a family behind him now, and they were too slow. "Riva," Jason said in a low voice, "hold your brother tight. Don't stop for anything. Understand?" She nodded, eyes wide. She tried to act brave, but her small legs were shaking. The baby in her arms gave a soft cry. Jason stopped at a frozen log and gently laid Dasari down behind it, covering her with snow-dusted blankets. "Rest here. I'll draw them away." Dasari grabbed his wrist. "No, don't leave." Jason looked into her eyes. "I'm not leaving. I'm protecting." She tried to sit up. "They won't stop. They hunt all survivors. Anyone left after the war." Jason already knew. He'd seen the same metal beasts on other planets. Machines with scanners, heat vision, sharp claws, no hearts, war cleaners. "Sweepers," the soldiers called them. "Then I'll break them. Before they touch your kids," Jason said. He pulled out his last flare and held it high. Then he ran into the trees in the opposite direction, loud on purpose, leaving footprints and scent. Snow exploded behind him. The trap was set. Back at the log, Riva clung to her mother. "Mama," she whispered, "will he come back?" Dasari couldn't speak. Her eyes were full of tears. She had begged Jason to become a father to her children, but she never meant for him to die proving it. Jason moved fast, weaving between trees, diving behind rocks. His breath came in clouds, but he didn't stop. He threw the flare far, lighting the sky red. Then he turned and crouched low, waiting. Metal footsteps. 1, 2, 3. A shimmer in the air. A shape began to appear. A hunter drone, 7 feet. Tall, with curved claws and blinking red eyes. It looked part animal, part machine. Jason raised his rifle and fired twice. The bullets sparked off its chest. It turned and charged. Jason cursed and rolled to the side, dodging just in time. His second shot hit the leg joint. Sparks flew. It stumbled. Then another shape came, a second one. 2 of them. Jason muttered. "Of course." He fired again. Click. Empty. He ran. Branches tore at his arms. The cold bit into his lungs. But Every step he took was a step away from the family hiding in the snow. Back at the log, Riva looked up as the sound of gunfire echoed far away. She wiped her eyes. "I want to help him," Tsari whispered. "He told us to stay." "I know. But he's not like others. He came back. For us." Tsari looked at her daughter, so small, yet so brave. "We will wait," she said. "But if he doesn't come back and we run—" Jason's leg gave out as he slid down a hill. His rifle was gone. His arm bled from a sharp branch. The drones were still behind him, but ahead, he saw something, a frozen river, thin ice, dangerous. He looked back. No time. Jason ran straight onto the ice. Each step cracked beneath him. One drone followed. The second one hesitated. Jason reached the center. The drone leaped after him. Crack! The ice broke. Jason fell in. Cold hit him like knives. But the machine fell too, its heavy body smashing through the surface. Jason gasped and swam toward the edge. The drone thrashed below, sinking in freezing water. He clawed his way out, coughing, frozen, shaking. The second drone stood at the riverbank, watching. Then it turned and ran, back toward the cave. "No!" Jason shouted. He staggered up, every part of him in pain. But he ran. Riva saw the shimmer just before it stepped into view. The second drone. It raised its arm. A sharp spike unfolded. She screamed. And then, a shot. The drone's head sparked. It turned, but too late. Jason appeared behind it, soaked and shivering, and jammed his broken rifle like a spear into its back. The machine screamed in static, and collapsed. Jason fell to his knees. Riva ran to him. "You came back," I promised, he whispered, smiling. Tsari looked at him from the snow, her mouth trembling. "You are more than human." Jason took her hand. "And you're more than alien." That night they hid deep in an abandoned mine, safe for now. Jason's body hurt, but his heart was warm. The machines had come. The danger was real, but so was his choice. He wasn't running anymore. She asks the unthinkable. Jason hadn't slept. Not because of fear. Not even because of pain. But because of her words, still echoing in his mind. "If I die, be their father." He sat near the mine entrance, wrapped in an old thermal blanket, rifle beside him, eyes fixed on the snowy path outside. Inside the cave, behind him, was the alien mother who had once feared him, and now asked him to be family. Not just protector, husband, father, everything. Jason rubbed his face. He had faced bombs, bullets, beasts, but this was something he had never trained for. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. He didn't need to turn. It was her, Tsari. The alien mother sat beside him, wrapped in the coat he had given her. Her breathing was better now, her skin still, pale but her strength returning. She didn't speak at first, she just looked at the snowy world with tired, glowing eyes. After a long silence, she said, "You could have left us." Jason shrugged. "Could have. Didn't." She looked at him. "Why?" Jason chuckled softly. "I guess I saw something in Riva's eyes, in yours. You didn't give up even when everyone else did." Tsari looked down at her hands. "We were not worth saving, not to our own kind." Jason turned to her. "Don't say that. You risked everything to keep your children alive." She hesitated, then said, "I once had a mate. Strong, kind. He died protecting me." Jason nodded. "I had someone once too, lost her during the war." They sat in silence again, this time a little closer, and then she said it, not in fear, not in weakness, but in the calm, serious voice of someone who had thought it through. "Be my mate. Be their father. You already are, but I ask it proper now." Jason didn't move. The snow outside kept falling. He turned slowly to look at her. She didn't look desperate. She looked hopeful. "I'm not from your world," he said quietly. "I'm not even your species." "I know," she replied, "but you love better than my own kind ever did." Jason looked away. "I'm not perfect. I get angry. I mess up. I don't know how to raise alien kids. You gave them food when they were starving, fire when they were freezing. You fought machines to keep them alive." She paused. "You stayed." Jason swallowed. He had fought for many things before: orders, medals, missions. But this wasn't a mission. This was a life, a strange, messy, alien life. But it could be his. "Do the kids know?" he asked. Tasari gave a small smile. "Riva asked if you would stay forever." Jason gave a soft laugh. "Smart kid." "She sees you already as a father," Tasari said. "Only thing missing is you saying yes." Jason stood up, walked a few steps, and looked up at the stars. He could leave tomorrow, head back to the nearest outpost, turn them over for medical help, and walk away. But the thought of Riva waking up and not seeing him, the thought of Tasari sitting alone again with no one to trust, he turned back and knelt in front of her. "I don't have a ring. I don't have a ceremony. But if you'll have me, I'll stay. I'll be your mate. I'll raise your children. And if anyone comes for you again, they'll go through me first." Tasari's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and touched his face. "Then I accept. You're one of us now." Jason leaned forward and touched his forehead to hers, the way her kind showed deep trust. Inside the cave, Riva peeked out, her little brother in her arms. She smiled wide. "Does this mean he's really my papa now?" she whispered. Tasari turned, holding Jason's hand. "Yes," she said, voice soft and full of warmth. "He's ours now." That night, the small cave glowed with heat and something stronger than fire. Hope, the human who came as a stranger, had become more than a savior. He had become family. But far away in the cold sky above, a signal had been picked up. Something, or someone, was still searching for the survivors, and their new family would soon be tested. The long road to safety, it wasn't footsteps that woke Jason. It was silence, a strange, heavy kind. The wind had stopped. The trees outside stood too still. No birds. No howling storm. Just silence. Jason's eyes opened fast. His soldier's instincts kicked in. He sat up, grabbed his rifle, and scanned the cave. Tasari and the children were still asleep, wrapped in blankets, breathing slow, peaceful. But Jason knew that kind of silence. It was the kind just before something bad arrived. He walked to the entrance of the mine and looked at the sky. There it was, a black dot, high above, moving too slow to be natural. A scout drone. Jason cursed under his breath. They found us. Within minutes, they were packed. He carried the baby on his chest, tightly strapped. Riva held her little brother's hand, staying close. Tasari walked slowly but steady, using Jason's shoulder to balance. Her legs still shook from days of weakness, but her spirit was strong. They moved through the forest like ghosts. Jason didn't stop to speak. Every second counted. Their goal, a human outpost 80 kilometers east, hidden behind the mountains. If they reached it, they'd find shelter, food, safety. But the path wasn't easy. There were rivers to cross, frozen cliffs, and now they were being watched. By nightfall, they camped beneath a fallen tree. Jason lit a small fire with care, using smoke-masking powder from his emergency kit. Riva sat beside him. "You think we'll make it?" Jason looked into her tired eyes. "I know we will." She smiled and leaned her head against his arm. Tasari joined them, sitting close. Her voice was soft. "You're doing more than I ever hoped." Jason gave a small smile. "I made a promise. I'm keeping it." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small, round object, glowing blue. "What is that?" he asked. "Our kind gives this when we choose a mate," she whispered. "It is not fancy, but it is sacred." She placed it gently in his hand. Jason looked at it, then at her. "You sure?" Sari nodded. "You already belong to us. This just makes it real." Jason wrapped his fingers around the glowing stone and placed it in his pocket. They sat together under the stars, two species, one new family, surrounded by cold and hunted by machines. But they didn't feel fear that night. They felt something stronger. The next day brought trouble. Sari collapsed during a steep climb. Her legs gave out and she fell hard. Jason rushed to her side. She was burning with fever. He touched her forehead and frowned. "She's getting worse." He set up camp near a stream, cooled her skin, gave her medicine. The children watched, scared. Riva asked, "Will Mama die?" Jason shook his head. "Not while I'm here." But inside he knew. They had to move faster, or she wouldn't make it. The final valley before the outpost was wide and open. No trees. Just frozen grass and long shadows. Jason carried to Sari now. She was barely conscious. The baby rested on her chest. The children followed close, holding ropes tied to Jason's pack. They had no cover. That's when the drone appeared. It came fast, buzzing, low, scanning. Jason yelled, "Run! Get to the rocks!" He dropped to Sari gently and raised his rifle. The drone fired, laser beam burning past his arm. He rolled, aimed, and fired back. Sparks flew. The drone spun, then fell with a crash into the snow. Smoke rose, but the signal was already sent. More were coming. Jason turned to the children. "Go, don't look back." They reached the last hill before the outpost, just as dark shapes appeared behind them, 3 more drones running like beasts. Jason fired one last shot. Empty. He dropped the gun and pulled a flare. "This is it," he whispered. He raised the flare, shot it high. A red light burst into the sky. Then he stood between the drones and his new family, unarmed. The drones paused, scanned him, and then, boom, a loud blast from above. A human gunship dropped from the sky, firing heavy rounds. One drone exploded. Another ran. The last was crushed under metal boots as human soldiers landed nearby. Jason fell to his knees. He looked back. Sari was awake. Riva was crying. The baby was safe. And Jason had kept his promise. At the human outpost, medics rushed to help. Jason stayed at Sari's side as she was carried inside. A soldier looked at him. "You brought aliens here, unregistered." Jason nodded. "They're my family now, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise." The soldier didn't argue. He just saluted. That night, Jason sat in a warm room, holding the alien baby in his arms. Riva slept on his shoulder. Sari, weak, but smiling, rested beside him. They had survived, together. A family born in the cave, they called him the Mad Human. At first. To the guards at the outpost gate, Jason was just a half-frozen man carrying an unconscious alien woman, 2 shivering alien children, and a broken rifle. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He just said, "They're with me." And when the child whispered, "Papa," everything changed. 3 days passed since the rescue. Inside the outpost's medical wing, the lights were warm. The air was clean. For the first time in weeks, no one was running. No one was hiding. Sari lay in a soft bed. Her fever had broken. She slept peacefully. Jason sat nearby with Riva in his lap. The baby cooed quietly in his arms. Her little brother sat beside him, playing with a spoon like it was the greatest toy in the galaxy. This was peace. But outside that room, voices argued, "She's an alien. We don't take their kind. It's against protocol. She's no threat, she's a mother." Jason stood up and walked into the hallway. The base commander, a tall, cold man with gray eyes, faced him. "You're a soldier, Harper," he said. "You know we can't allow alien survivors to live in a human zone, especially not unregistered." Jason didn't flinch. "She's not a threat." The commander crossed his arms. "You're saying that because you bonded with her?" "No," Jason replied. "I'm saying that because I watched her starve so her kids could eat. I watched her get left behind by her own people. And I watched her choose mercy over fear when she should have hated us." "She asked you to be her mate?" the man asked, shocked. Jason nodded. "And I said yes." The commander stared at him. Then quietly, "You're serious about this?" Jason looked him in the eye. "Dead serious." There was silence, and then the man sighed, then signed the papers. Later that night, Jason returned to the room with official forms in his hand. Tessari was awake, sitting up slowly. Riva ran to her and hugged her tight. "Mama, the humans didn't take us away." Jason knelt beside the bed. "They tried," he said, smiling. "But I told them something important." Tessari looked at him, her eyes searching. Jason held up the small blue stone she gave him earlier, the one her people used to mark a bond. "I told them, this means more to me than anything I ever fought for." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then it's real." Jason nodded. "I signed the papers. You're under my protection now. Officially. You and the kids." Tessari leaned forward, touched, her forehead to his. "I never thought I'd find family in a cave," she whispered. Jason smiled. "Me neither." Weeks passed. Jason and Tessari were given a private home near the outpost. It was small but warm. The children had real beds now, real clothes, food that didn't come from ration packs. Jason built a garden with Riva's help. Tessari cooked strange but delicious alien soups, and at night, they sat around a table, not as human and alien but as a family. But not all humans were kind. One day a trader passing through town saw them together. He laughed. "You're the one who took in a cave bug," he said to Jason. "That thing your wife?" Jason didn't answer. Not with words. He stepped forward and said calmly, "That thing saved 3 children in a freezing cave. That thing gave up everything to protect them. And that thing is more human than most I've ever met." The trader didn't laugh again. A year later, the snow returned. But this time, Jason didn't face it alone. He stood at the hill outside their home, holding Tessari's hand. Riva ran down the path, her arms wide. "Snow, Mama, Papa, it's back." Jason laughed. "Better bundle up, kiddo." Behind them, the baby had learned to walk. Her first word was Dada. Tessari rested her head on Jason's shoulder. "You gave us life again." Jason kissed her forehead. "No, you gave me one worth living." From a cave of death, a bond had formed. From war and fear, a new hope had been born, not in blood, not in race, but in choice, a family, made not by fate, but by love.